Okay, so it's just going over a little bit of what we learned in Logic Pro. The first thing we can do is take a look at our instrument here. We can, of course, create a new instrument just by clicking on the plus button here and selecting Create, and that creates a MIDI instrument. We know that if we hit the buttons, we can play that instrument. This instrument has many iterations here. As you can see, we can go to some classical piano sounds, experimental, and we can just kind of go back down here in this bin that's open and find different instruments such as orchestral, choir. I don't seem to have those available to me. Let's see, woodwinds, sax. So I could do that. To record an instrument, you just have to ensure that the R is on and just click the little record button. And when you do that, you can go ahead and stop that. And you can see just by double clicking that you've created a little MIDI score that you can play back. I will just move this to the beginning or hit the return key. So that's the saxophone. Let's create a new instrument, software instrument, and one of the nice instruments to use is Alchemy. The way to get to Alchemy is just creating a new instrument, opening this little I button for information, and closing up the bin. And you can see this strip right here gives us all the information about our classic piano, including the actual sample to here to the left. If we click on this little arrow and select Alchemy Stereo, that changes that into an Alchemy track. So now I can use any of these 3,000 presets. Maybe I'll choose this. Sorry. Close this window, and now you can see I am on this Alchemy set. To get to some of the interesting elements available to me that I can use while playing, I can just close up this little I button and then click on this little interface right here. This little knob will actually give me some of the abilities to modify how that sounds in Alchemy. So again, I'm on this, I have the record enabled, and I will just hit the record button at this point. Go ahead and stop that. And if I play this Alchemy sound back, you can see that it actually is remembering the audio recording as well. And you notice that because I didn't have anything soloed or muted, I was hearing both tracks at the same time. Now we can adjust the volume using the volume buttons here, or we can adjust the panning. So this is a little more left and this is a little more right. So that just pulled the saxophone down and up. So that's, and notice that when I switch between the two tracks, I get different control strips at the bottom based on the instrument that I'm actually selecting, right? So that's a little bit about the instruments. The next thing we're going to want to do is be able to import some audio. So I'm going to click on this little, or import an animation or a video so that we can start composing to it. And just by clicking this window, it opens up the arrangement marker signature area, but you notice there's no movie, so we have to control click on that and go to configure, or at least turn on this checkbox here, but I'll just go to configure. And then I'm going to turn everything off except for movies and markers. And I'm going to go, and that's it. So I'll just kind of click away from there. At this point, I can now import a movie into my into this Logic program just by clicking here and selecting import or open movie. I'll find my movie, which is in a folder on the desktop. And here it is. And notice that it has a little bit, or this is the movie actually, hit open. And notice that it does have an audio track. Sometimes you won't, but you want to definitely have these two checked and hit OK. And now you can see your movie. And I'm going to close it up. So you're thinking, where did the movie go? Here's the audio track for the movie. In order to mute that, you can hit the M so you don't hear it. But the audio track, the movie track, is under the I. So when you click the I button, you get your default little tracks, but at the top you'll see the movie here. So you can actually collapse some of these to make space. If you want to bring the movie to a large size again, just double click it. That'll open it up in a larger window that you can resize and put somewhere else on your screen. Or let's see, redo. There we go. Or you can close it up and it'll go back into this little track strip here. Okay, the next thing we did, I'm going to close up the musical keyboard because we don't need any more, is that we imported some audio from the loop browser. On the right hand side here is the loop browser, and this gives you two types of tracks. It gives you the green Alchemy, the green MIDI tracks. So for instance, let's see what I've got on this machine. Can see there's very few green tracks. Normally there are quite a bit. Maybe it's there we go. Interesting. By clicking on any of these tracks, you can sample them. And if you like what's going on, you drag the track into an empty area, and what will happen is it will create a track for that sound. Now the track is available. I'm going to solo that track, so that's the only thing that's playing. And you can see, if I zoom in a little bit using the slider and then scooch back, that the track kind of ends here, and maybe I want it to be a little longer. So one way to do that is to put your mouse near the top right and just pull, and that is will extend the loop element for that track. Now it'll continue, as you can kind of see. Now I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter, and maybe I only wanted to loop, there we go. Maybe I only wanted to loop this initial part, these two, or these 4 beats. Maybe I wanted to stop looping there. Well, you can trim the track as well using the mouse, putting it near the bottom, and you notice it has a different look. And then when you loop it, it'll loop based on where you trimmed. So you can kind of see how that kind of works there. So in this case, because it comes from here, I'm not going to go ahead and loop it. Another way to bring audio in is to just go find it on the desktop or wherever you put it. In this case, I put it in a folder. Here's a AIFF file, which is just a sound effect. And I just drag it, again, into its own little space. And I will turn off the solo here and solo this so we can hear just that sound. So another thing that, so you've got your loop browser on the right. We're going to close that up so we can see a little bit more. We have our zoom tool up here so we can zoom in and out of what we see. You can also zoom up and down. You can kind of see there's right next to the in and out is up and down. And then finally, some things that we might want to do with this is to actually bring the audio and make it go back and maybe louder or softer. We can change the location, obviously, in space, more left or more right. But in this case, I want the audio to maybe slowly fade out over time. And the way you do that, obviously, is to set the level here that you'd like, something like that. But maybe from this point forward, I want it to fade out. By hitting the letter A, opens up our automation track, and then clicking on this little line, it's very hard to see, but just clicking on it, this is our volume line. You can kind of see that if I move the volume, it will move the line here. You can kind of see it right there. So once you see the line, clicking on it twice creates the keyframes, and then you can actually do something like fade it out. So now you can see it fades out over time. So I'm going to hit the letter A again to close up the automation. One last thing, A again to open automation. We're currently automating the volume, but you can also automate your panning from left to right as well. So you can start it fully on the left or fully on the right, you can see, and then make the sound go fully to the left. So you can see as you can see the panning is automated here. So the sound starts over here and it physically moves to the left side. So which is something that you could do maybe for sound effects like cars or something like that. Okay, so again, A to close up the little automation there, and I'm going to just kind of zoom it tighter here. When you're working with audio and sound effects, I'm going to put another sound effect into the space here. This one's just the tea kettle sound, and you can kind of see maybe I would like this to come in at a certain point. So the way I do it is like maybe you want to figure out using the playhead where the sound will start, and then you physically just move it to that space, just like that. And you'll see that if I turn off the soloing, okay, and then maybe just leave the solo on for the metal pipe and the tea kettle. See, that's pretty loud. I'll turn that down. So that's what I've got so far. That sounds like what I want. And then I will start to compose. Now, Alchemy, as I spoke with earlier, is a good, turn on the solo for this, is a good way of noodling around and composing something. Because it does have some nice sounds available. There's a ton of other ways of composing. Obviously, with the loop browser, you can construct and compose things as well. That's it. That's some of the basics of like creating a soundscape for your animation.